May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. This last Thursday, we had another monthly meeting of Renewport, which is Newport's local leadership council, elected leaders, civic leaders, heads of nonprofit organizations, and all people who are in those positions of social service and government in Newport. Emmanuel is now Renewport's permanent meeting place. The group really likes Mrs. Brown's big dream of expansive spaces as a home for the whole community. And all of us have gotten used to keeping our eyes and ears open, dreaming up new opportunities all the time for Emmanuel to engage in community and grow it in this way, to live more fully into our purposes here, whether by catching news items in the local paper, introducing compatible new uses and groups to our space, or keeping these buildings ready for the many things we do here. Our engagement with community here at Emmanuel is more than just an events calendar or a to-do list. It's life-giving. Community is the antidote to what Atlantic magazine writer Derek Thompson recently called the anti-social century, which comes of the paradoxical effects of advanced technology. Now, I say paradoxical because technology brings us closer together, and we all know that, but it isolates us at the same time. We spend more time alone with streaming television and other technological at-home comforts, taking the place of entertainment we used to enjoy out with friends. Texting and emails take the place of phone calls and in-person conversation. Our constant, fess up here, we have one, our constant coworker and best friend, text communication, makes our inner circle of family and friends even tighter. With increased communication, we stay in closer touch than ever. But at the same time, super sophisticated algorithms spoon-feed us news we agree with, that presents a worldview that we endorse and affirm, and our devices provide quick connections with those who share that view wherever in the world they are. The more we read our favorite news, the better trained our devices get to make sure that's all we see. And we become even more isolated, digging deeper and deeper into our own perspective on the world. Mark Dunkelman, author and research fellow at Brown University, describes the three rings of society. Family, the inner ring. Family teaches us love. The middle ring, Dunkelman calls it village, but I'm going to call it community, to use our language here. Community, the middle ring, teaches us tolerance. The outer ring, that's the folks we don't know, but identify with through shared beliefs or interests, are tribes. Tribes teach us loyalty and idealism. When you think of a tribe, in this context, you'd think of the national church, the Episcopal Church, or your political party, or maybe someone you share an interest with, like a runner's club that might be regional. You don't know those folks, but you share that interest and commitment. It's that middle ring, community, that's key to social cohesion, Dunkelman says. When we skip connecting with community, like when we stay at home and become one with our Netflix subscription on the couch, or text messages with close family and friends and perspectives we already agree with, we miss out on relationship. Relationship happens when we negotiate different opinions and hear other people's experience, remembering that they're not the enemy to be vanquished just because they hold another view and see things a different way. When we don't engage in that middle ring of community, we also miss understanding our own unique blessedness. The way each of us is essential in our own way to the world. We miss out on that sense of belonging. I love our readings today because they give us context for the essential role community plays in our lives and show us how God's activity in our community at Emmanuel is life-giving. The Apostle Paul reminds the Corinthians today that we all are blessed with unique and extravagant gifts to generate abundance with God's help. Each of us is given the manifestation of the Spirit for the common good, Paul writes. Now, that gift takes many forms, and it's for the common good, meaning it's supposed to be shared in community. To one is given wisdom, to another knowledge, another faith, another gifts of healing, another the working of miracles, another prophecy, to another the discernment of spirits, to another various kinds of tongues, to another interpretation of those tongues. Notice that the gift of tongues is not given without someone who understands them. That's me adding that clarification because we're supposed to work with those and keep trying to understand one another. All these gifts are activated by the same Spirit who allots to each one individually as the Spirit chooses. What are your gifts? In John's Gospel this morning, Mary had the gift of observation. She was present in the moment at the wedding at Cana and noticed that the wine was running short. She also had the gift of discernment of spirit and knew that Jesus was the one to call in to help with that and consult on the abundance issues. Jesus, of course, had the gift of working miracles. But Jesus' response to his mother draws our attention straight to the role Mary had, Mary's official role at the wedding, which was, she didn't have one. She was a guest. Woman, what concern is that to you and me? Jesus asks. I don't think that Jesus is saying that his mother shouldn't get involved in the community. I think that John's Gospel is trying to get us to focus on Mary's and Jesus' roles and all of our roles when God's transformative work gets done. We're meant to engage. We're meant to get things done. Jesus tells the servants to fill 6 stone jars for the Jewish rites of purification with water. And John's Gospel carefully notes the detail that each one holds 20 or 30 gallons, right? You hear that part? So you multiply all of that out, and that's as much as 180 gallons of fine wine. Now, we don't know how many guests the wedding party had invited to their wedding, but assuming that they went out to the wine store and bought enough, what they thought was enough to start with, before Mary notices that it's run short midway in the party, it's got to be way more than plenty. When Jesus asks, woman, what concern is that to you and me? He's inviting all of us to consider how we can be of help and join in the transformative miracle of offering our own unique gifts in community and receive the gift of belonging. When we engage in community, we experience our own neededness. As American Institute for Boys and Men President Richard Reeves calls it, the way we make ourselves essential in community. Remember that curious detail in John's Gospel? The steward didn't know where the fine, abundant supplies of wine had come from, and that it had come from those 30-gallon water jars. But the servants did. They weren't the ones in charge, but they took part in the miracle by pitching in, each with their own gifts. We have no idea what God will do for us and through us when we pour out our spiritual gifts extravagantly. I don't think that Mary was thinking of miracles at the wedding of Cana. She just used her spiritual gifts of presence and observation to point out what the community needed. But then Jesus and all the servants got involved, and that changed everything. I have to say, they still make wine in Cana. I've had it, and I think the last good wine was probably at this wedding reception made in Cana. It is uniquely awful. Tomorrow, our nation honors Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. on his birthday. Dr. King had a dream, a big dream, where, as he wrote in Facing the Challenge of a New Era, the end is the creation of the beloved community. It is the type of spirit and this type of love that will transform the deep gloom of the old age into the exuberant gladness of the new age. It is this love which will bring about miracles. What can this miracle of community look like at Emmanuel? Dream big. Amen.